Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has called out the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for being bland, and also the Pittsburgh Steelers have re-signed a player. So, Deshaun Watson, in his career, he's only played the Steelers a few times, but he's lost every single game that he's played against the Steelers in his career. And just recently, he was on a QB podcast called Unplugged on Lockverse YouTube channel. And Browns quarterback kind of went into the X's and O's with coach Kevin Stefanski and his co-host Quincy Avery to break down the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And this is what he had to say. But before I get into the quote, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you can get updated with everything Pittsburgh Steelers news. And also like this video. Let's get right into it. So, his quote is this: "The biggest thing is getting the defense in what we want to get the defense in, and that's a base defense. Especially a team like Pittsburgh. When they're in a base defense, they don't play too many coverages. It is very limited in what they are doing. Once we had this situation, we got them exactly how we want them. And then you just run the play and just react." End quote. So, this is a very interesting kind of quote that he said, because the way he said this and the play that he was breaking down as he said this was actually an interception that was thrown towards Amari Cooper, an intermediate pass that saw Watson get intercepted in the Week 2 meeting of the 2023 season. So hearing Watson's opinion of the Steelers being very limited defensively is interesting in this scenario, because the Steelers won the game, and also it's because of 2 Watson turnovers that resulted in 2 touchdowns by the defense. Highsmith returned an interception to 30 yards for a touchdown on the first play of scrimmage, and then Watt sealed the victory after Highsmith strip-sacked Watson, and then TJ Watt returned it for a touchdown. So it's very interesting to see Watson's perspective and say the Steelers defense is bland, even though it may be. But just saying that after losing every game to the team that you're talking about just doesn't make sense, especially when that bland defense is causing you mishaps and making you commit turnovers to lose your team the game. Looking at it from an overall perspective, yes, you could say under Dick LeBeau, the Steelers ran one of the most complicated defensive schemes in NFL history. LeBeau left the Steelers after the 2014 season, and over the last decade, the defensive schemes have somewhat been simplified. That is not really a knock on Keith Butler or Terrell Austin, but more so the success of TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith has allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to adjust. LeBeau's legendary blitz schemes, because the 4-man rush has been so effective over the few seasons. So the Steelers kind of went off of that and don't really cook up as much blitzes or as much schemes or sets in base defenses anymore. They kind of know that they're going to get pressure with TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cameron Heyward, or whoever's on the defense line. And their defense is more basic in terms of that way. Yes, they still do send the odd corner blitz, especially from the slot position, or even the odd inside linebacker blitz as well, sending pressure. But the scheme of the defense, if it is so basic, like I'm saying, it has been basic over the few years because of the success of TJ Watt. Since LeBeau's been here when it was more complicated, yes, it's been more basic. And Deshaun Watson is saying it's more basic. But how come Steelers defense is still always one of the best defenses in the NFL in terms of committing turnovers? If you know what they're going to do, you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to run, it's so simple, like Deshaun Watson is saying. Why is there so many turnovers that the Pittsburgh Steelers are creating? Obviously, it has to be more than just being simple. Obviously, they're confusing you somehow. Or maybe you're just not a good quarterback and you don't know what you're seeing out there on the football field. If you're watching the film and saying something is simple, but then you commit 2 turnovers in the game that you're breaking down, it just doesn't make sense. And Deshaun Watson, over his career, he has been a player who has not had that much success against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You look at it, and in his 2 meetings, in fact, Pittsburgh might even prefer to see Watson at this point when the two teams collide over a guy like Joe Flacco, who over his career has had more success against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who would have thought that would you rather have Deshaun Watson or 35-year-old Joe Flacco facing you? Well, over the last few years, you would want Deshaun Watson. You wouldn't want Joe Flacco, even though Joe Flacco, he looked like he was at the end of his career. He wasn't going to be in the league anymore. He made a comeback story. And you would rather now face Deshaun Watson, someone who's at the top of his game, got suspended, was out for a long time. That just seems as though a fall off has happened with Deshaun Watson's game. And not even just this, it's funny when the Browns and the Steelers get linked together as a rivalry, or just the Browns in general in the NFL, because the Cleveland Browns have not won a division title since they returned to the NFL in the 1999 season, and have only made the AFC playoffs as a wild card 3 times. They lost to the Steelers in 2002 in one of the greatest games in Pittsburgh playoff history. They beat Pittsburgh in the most embarrassing playoff loss in franchise history in 2020, but that was kind of their high. That was the best win that they probably had in their franchise history since the days with Jim Brown and the championships that they won, which were so long ago that they don't even count as Super Bowls. So you look at the Cleveland Browns, they gave the biggest contract, largest guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson in 2022, and then the year after, they get blown out by Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC divisional round. So the Browns made the playoffs and were blown out by the Houston Texans again in the AFC wildcard game in 2023. They just have not had success. That's why it's always funny to see Browns fans get on Steelers fans about Super Bowls and things like that, because they have not had success at all in the NFL for a very long time, since the Jim Brown days. And Watson, he has only started 12 games for the Browns over 2 seasons, and the team watched Joe Flacco kind of lead the team to excellence and to a playoff berth in which it looked like Deshaun Watson was the worst quarterback of the two. And that's not what you want to see happen when you give all that guaranteed money to that kind of quarterback, when a 35-year-old plus is going to outbeat you for the position. But Deshaun Watson, he still looks to be the star of the season. Hopefully the Pittsburgh Steelers continue their success over the Cleveland Browns. But this is what Deshaun Watson had to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they play a bland defense. Also in the news, however, a few days ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers have decided to re-sign kicker Matthew Wright. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they agreed to a contract with Matthew Wright, and they're bringing him back to the team. This is the 4th time he's been with the organization. The team has announced the contract and the signing, so that means other times he was also on the team in terms of maybe Chris Boswell got injured, so they signed Matthew Wright to the team, or even just being on the practice squad. This is the 4th time he has signed a contract to join the Pittsburgh Steelers. The terms of the deal aren't immediately disclosed, but he was undrafted out of University of Central Florida. He initially signed with the Steelers after the 2019 draft was released. He returned to the team in 2020 and saw his first NFL action, filling in, like I said, for injured kicker Chris Boswell. Wright appeared in 3 games for the Steelers, making all 7 of his extra points and all 4 of his field goals. He kicked for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2021, performing well in 14 games before kicking for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2022. In November of that year, the Steelers signed him off the Chiefs practice squad, and he appeared in 4 games for the Steelers, going 12 of 14 on field goals. His leg strength has improved since his college days. He's showing range to easily hit from 50 plus yards, including a 52-yarder with the Steelers. During the 2022 season, Mike Tomlin praised him for the job that he's done, filling in for Boswell. So, Wright will serve as a number 2 leg this summer behind Boswell. He more than likely will be like a practice squad type of player, unless injuries does happen or a surprise cut happens, which wouldn't make sense because Chris Boswell has been consistent for his whole career, basically with the team other than that one down year. So signing Matthew Wright is more of just training camp leg than just an actual signing of someone who will be on the team in the future. So don't expect much from Matthew Wright unless injuries happen. He is more of a practice squad player, and someone the Pittsburgh Steelers may have in terms of preseason games, so Chris Boswell doesn't have to play in every single game in the preseason. So Matthew Wright, he's officially signed a contract with the Steelers to return to the team for the 4th stint here. But with that being said, let's end this video. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about this topic, both these topics in general, about Deshaun Watson's comments, about the Steelers playing a kind of basic, bland, simple base defense, and they don't really do too much there. And also let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about Matthew Wright being re-signed. Also, make sure you turn on notifications, subscribe to the channel, and like the video so you never miss out on anything Pittsburgh Steelers updates, rumors, highlights, reports, analysis, everything like that. The draft is coming up very soon at the end of this month, and you want to stay in tune with everything revolving that, including every new player we get. I covered all, I'll continue to cover all. So I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.